Hi Club Scrap members, this is Tricia Morris with another awesome edition of our assembly line scrapbooking workshop. This is featuring the June 2018 Firecracker collection. I love this page kit. We've had so much fun with it already. We've got some beautiful ribbons here, our photo mats, our little star gems, star-shaped dazzles, what could be more fun than that, and then this really cool fireworks stencil. I can't wait to show you how I use that. Well, let's just dive right in and get to the filing portion of our time together, and I'm doing something a little bit different this time with my filing, so make sure you're ready for that. I've got my accordion pocket file, and I know I might have a lot of new people joining me who met us at the Novi Mega Meet in Michigan. So if this is your first time here, welcome, and I hope you've had a chance to find your workshop link and a PDF download for your accordion pocket file, and that you were able to make it successfully. If not, just keep your stuff for all the layouts in 4 different piles. Hopefully you have a little bit of extra space in your scrapbooking area. All right, so we'll file our pre-cut photo mats. The white ones are going to go into pocket 1 and 2. The dark gray will go in pocket 3 and 4. And this blue, you'll notice it has kind of a mottled texture on one side, and then it's more smooth on the other. It doesn't matter which way you attach it to your pages, but I usually like to do it so the texture side is facing up. That goes in 5 and 6, and then the red all go in 7 and 8. All right, now I have the papers completely in order from top to bottom. So I want you to find what we're using and just put it on top of your trimmer face up. We'll start out with this gorgeous print, and we had kind of an exciting adventure printing this paper this month. We had to change the paper we were printing on so that we could achieve this incredible look for this print. I absolutely love it. So this is the fireworks print, and then we have the blue, just one of them. Next, grab 2 red planes. Next, 2 dark gray planes. And then we have the other print. This is the sparkler print. I love this too, and that bokeh look we have going there. And I love sparklers, they're my favorite. Then we have this gorgeous paper with a felt finish. This is a light gray. And then I want you to find the cut-aparts with all of the smaller shapes, and then the sheet of cut-aparts with the border strips, another sheet of light gray with a felt finish, a sheet of blue, another sparkler print, and then we're going to begin trimming our fireworks print. Okay, so I'll grab my instructions. Hopefully you have a hard copy of those for yourself, and we'll get started. We'll begin with the fireworks print, and I have a picture of it in the instructions. It's basically going into the trimmer right side up. I don't know, it's always what's right side up on something like this. Just do it so the majority of the fireworks are in the upper center of the print, and we will cut at 7 inches. Both of these pieces are used in layouts 5 and 6. Next, I'm going to take the sparkler print, and there's no rotating on this. It's a nice easy cut. The first one's at 9 3/4, then 8 1/4, and 4 3/4. So lots of quarters there. This first larger piece that's left in our trimmer base goes in 3 and 4. And then we have it's more of a dark strip with just a little bit of that bokeh shining there. That goes in 7 and 8, and the remaining 2 pieces go in 3 and 4. You want to make sure your hands are clean when you're working with this paper. It will take on a fingerprint if you're not careful. Next, we'll take this blue piece, and we have got a lot of cuts here at weird measurements, so bear with me. The first one's at 11 1/4, 10 1/2, 9 3/4, 8 3/4, and 4 1/2. We'll take this 4 1/2 inch piece and rotate it. We'll cut at 6 1/2. All right, here we have the 6 1/2 inch piece, and then the other 5 1/2 inch piece. Both of them will get filed into 3 and 4. And then pick up the next wide strip. We'll make 3 cuts. The first one at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. All right, we have 3 pieces of the same size. They all go into 7 and 8. And this is a scrap. Now the very next piece on the top of your pile is wider than the other 3 narrow strips. This is 1 inch wide and goes in the pocket for 1 and 2. And these 3 pieces are the same. They all go into 3 and 4. Moving right along, we're at the light gray print. Some nice easy cuts here. First one is at 9 and 6. Rotate the 6x12 and do the classic photo mat trim. Look at it, 8 and 4. One of these pieces will go into the pocket for 1 and 2. The other 2 for 7 and 8. Pick up the next piece. You have 2 strips the same size and they'll be cut differently. The first strip will be trimmed at 9 1/4, 6 1/2, 3 3/4. We'll take this larger 3 3/4 inch piece and file that with 5 and 6. And then we've got 3 pieces that are the same size, hopefully. Those go in 1 and 2. Some nice easy cuts on this last strip. Just simply cut at 8 and 4. And file these into the pocket for layouts 5 and 6. And we're moving right along to the cut-aparts. Okay, at this point, again, just as a reminder, we're looking for those little hash marks up at the top and the bottom edge of our print, and with this Fiskars trimmer I can see exactly where that strip meets up with the edge of the silver blade. However, the first cut will be at approximately 11 1/4, and we'll be removing the narrowest strip off the right edge of our cut-aparts. Then we're moving it on down to 10 1/2, and then a series of just very narrow cuts, 10, 9 1/2, and just continue on down the line. Okay, we're doing something a little bit different here with this piece. I actually had plenty of artwork to go around, but I needed some photo mats. So I flipped this over and got creative and just used some trimming to create some photo mats. We will trim this strip. So again, it's the fireworks strip with the little square. We're trimming it horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. So again, you just made 3 rectangles. We'll be using the plain side up in layouts 5 and 6. And this last little piece is a scrap. The next piece goes in 1 and 2. Then we have our sparklers, 7 and 8. A summer I'll always remember with people I'll never... I love this quote. This is such a great quote. 5 and 6. And then we have some diamonds that will go in 3 and 4. And again, I'm looking at my instructions at this document here. We have some little blue circles, 5 and 6. Here we have 2 strips. They're narrow and they have a lot of just different summary words on them. 3 and 4. Red polka dots, 5 and 6. If it includes family and so on, these last 2 strips actually both go into 1 and 2. And then we'll go ahead and finish the trimming on this last piece. We want to place it in the trimmer so the words "just look up" will be in the upper left corner. And our first cut will be at around 11 inches. Be really careful for the next cut, because if you're looking just down here, you might be tempted to cut across the artwork. You don't want to do that, so make sure you move your paper down to about 7 3/4. And then 4. Rotate. All right. This "just look up" goes in 1 and 2, and sometimes all you need is a little splash of color, 7 and 8. Then let's separate the next strip of elements. All right, this journaling prompt goes in 5 and 6, and then the journaling prompt with the fireworks on it, 1 and 2. This tag shape goes in 5 and 6. And this narrow journaling prompt, 3 and 4. The ooh and the ah also go in 3 and 4. Another strip to separate. I'm going to start out with my little circles in the lower right corner. and then rotate this piece so it's vertical, and I like to bring it down to where I can see really well. Summer is a state of mind, 3 and 4. Sometimes I believe, 7 and 8. Barbecues, pool party, warm evenings, and so on, that's 3 and 4. And then we have this piece with the 4 circles. Now you can go ahead and trim those circles up with the scissors, with a punch. I actually used a 1-inch punch, so I'm not going to trim these into individual pieces. I'm just going to cut off the, you put the spark in sparkler. All right. So this one, oop, and I have to shave a little bit off the end there. Okay, you put the spark in sparkler is 5 and 6. I'll just grab my circle punch, and it's just easier to leave the 4 pieces, and then when you punch them, it naturally forms a 1/8 inch border all the way around, which matches the same size white border that reveals on the other cut-aparts in this set. Okay, that's a scrap. The blue one I used in pocket 1 and 2, and the other 3 will go in 3 and 4. And now we have some little banners to cut. The large one goes in 1 and 2, the medium 5 and 6, and the small 3 and 4. Okay, for the preparation work for 8 layouts, these are the only scraps that I have, so I feel pretty good about that. And now let's just get to all the work of finishing these layouts. I have a lot of tips I want to share with you. On my copy of the instructions, I'm going to turn to layout 7 and 8, but before we get started with the actual layouts, I'm going to show you how to use this Fireworks overlay stencil. And I'm using the Club Scrap desk blotter here underneath my paper. This is a really nice little thing to have in your studio, so if you're stamping or you want to protect your work surface, this is what you'll want to use. And it has a nice straight grid on it in case you need to align something. But I really do like this desk blotter for one of my crafting supplies. And here I have the stencil. You'll also need a pencil because it is an overlay stencil, and there are tiny little like a pinhole sized marks here and here for the first layer. So you'll mark that location and then realign those same holes with the second layer of the image. Well, let me just show you how this works. I'll pick a spot on my layout, maybe just in this corner here. And it doesn't matter if the firework is going to fall off the edge of the paper, that's okay. And so I'm going to mark here and here. I'll just do it more, a little bit more dark than I normally would if it was just for me, but I want you to be able to see. Obviously, I used some blue ink there. It was our Club Scrap Lagoon ink, and I'm using an ink applicator. And so I'm just going to make sure that my applicator is thoroughly inked. I think that's, like, if you're not very successful the first time in applying it, especially since this has a felt finish, you just want to make sure you can saturate through the stencil into the paper. So I'm firmly holding the stencil down, and I'll just kind of wipe. You don't want to really dab. Dabbing won't get you too far. I just kind of swipe across the surface of the stencil with my applicator at an angle, and then just avoid the little pinprick hole if you can. It's not a big deal if you don't. It's a firework after all. Okay, so now I have the blue layer applied. This goes on top of it, so I will slide the stencil up and realign it so that the original pencil mark I drew is now aligned. So what that does, it perfectly places the second layer of the firework, and this time I'm using a ruby ink and another applicator that I have preserved more for the reds and oranges in the spectrum. So once again, just kind of a sliding, swiping motion, not as much of a tapping. Just gives me a better application. Being careful to watch for the edges of the stencil itself. And when I lift it, ta-da! I have a beautiful, colorful firework. It's really fabulous. And then you can continue and repeat that maybe one or two more times. Like maybe I'll do one a little more closely. So if I want to do a firework that's going to be falling off the edge of the paper, like here's my dot, totally okay. I'll just mark it on my paper that's underneath and make sure that I don't move my paper. If I did though, I have it strategically located on the grid so I can realign it on the grid of my desktop blotter. So you can see how that's pretty quick. And I'll just slide up here and realign. I love that the stencil can be used again and again, not just for this particular layout. And here you've got some great things happening. Another little technique that I used to do all the time is to just do like a ghosted version of the stencil in the background. See, you can just like make some gentle sweeps, a real light addition. Same for the red, like maybe let's just, now here I did not reload my ink applicator, and I just am very lightly going over it with my, again, that same sweeping motion, and that adds, you know, like the background firework, right? The one that, you know, happened 5 minutes ago. There you go. Sweet. Okay. Now let's kind of set this aside and we'll get ready to do some actual assembly. All right, I've taken everything out of pocket 7 and 8, and I'll begin with the base for layout 8, which is that fireworky light gray base that we started with. And I'm just going to set this strip from that sparkler print horizontally across. And of course, remember, when you're gluing this down, make sure that you use your ruler, find a straight edge, add your adhesive, rest that piece against the ruler to drop it down nice and level on your page. Of course, that might be adjusted when we place a couple of other things. We've got a series of 3 blue photo mats, and the same here. When I attach these, I used my grid ruler and I actually separate them by 3/16 of an inch and have that as a reveal on the bottom and left right edges, and it's going to look fantastic. So of course we'll have to move things up a little bit to make room for our little sparkler border, and then this can be nudged up right there. Now to anchor what I have coming here, I will trim a 12-inch piece of this beautiful red grosgrain ribbon, and just that will end up getting wrapped around to the back of this layout, and then that will help anchor this red photo mat. And we have a decorative tag here. Now I want to show you how I was able to create the little triangular shapes for the tag. And for that, you'll want a grid ruler. For projects like this, I like to use my 2x8. We have the ruler in 3 sizes. This is the smallest one. So I'll rest the 1/8 inch measurement on the ruler against the edge of the artwork. I'm holding my pen knife here, like a pen, and just pull toward me to remove that triangle. Then just rotate the tag so you're still holding the ruler in the same basic position. It's positioned 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the artwork on that dashed line, and you can take off those 2 triangles. I don't punch a hole for the tag. Let me show you the next steps for this little creature. We'll take some ribbon and I'll cut at an angle, and then a little ways down I'll cut at an opposing angle. So now I have a odd shape here. Fold it in half and then tape this to the back of the tag. That way it doesn't take a lot of ribbon. We don't have much room for a lot of ribbon either, and it just gives us a nice little finishing touch. The last thing added to the tag then will be one of these blue gems. Best way to attach that is with our bookbinding glue dispensed from a needle tip applicator. So I've got my applicator here, and we'll just stick that right on. I love this bookbinding glue in the needle tip applicator for attaching my non-porous objects to paper, and that will go right here. So the finished layout number 8 will look like this when you get everything attached. Oh, I also added an extra gem here onto the that little cutaparts, and then a whole batch of these tiny little stars. You'll receive a whole entire sheet of these, and they're just spectacular. They're not all that thrilling when they're on their backing, but when you remove one, and I usually use a tweezers to just grab the star off of the sheet and then just place it where I want it. So tweezers is really, really helpful in this process. I'm going to set this aside and then slide over the base for layout 7, which is going to be the sparkler print. This is a really, really simple finisher. We've got 2 vertical mats, 4x6, and then those are going to be nested with 2 vertical red mats. And then I took, you can use a craft knife and a scissors combination to actually remove the white area from the outside of the border on this tag. And so I just slid this underneath the mat here on the right. Kind of anchors it a little bit. I also tied a bow around one of the pictures, and to make the bow, this is bunny ear, crisscross, bring it around, and pull. So now you have a nice bow that you can then wrap around your photo mat. Here's my layout 7, that's all finished. And then, this is the cool part, these gems that we've included, I have a silver one here, here, and here, and then I finished the tag with the blue one down over here. Of course, all those are attached with our book binding glue. For layout 6, everything is pretty straightforward. I'm attaching the smaller section, this is the 5-inch section of this Firecracker print, and then you'll have 3 mates. So we'll start it with the gray texture here, and then we should be able to nest. Remember when we trimmed that border strip earlier? We're going to nest those here onto the gray. Use your grid ruler to make sure everything's nice and aligned and equally spaced. Oh, I forgot to slide. We have the red polka dotted border is going to help us separate this 5-inch area from the dark gray area. And then we'll have a, look at how that blue photo mat just fits in there perfectly. You put the spark and sparkler will be here. This is another situation where I use my cutting mat, my ruler, and a knife in order to create the V in this element. I mimicked that also with a length of ribbon sew. To get that angled cut in the ribbon, you just fold it in half and then trim with the V toward the fold. And that creates a nice chevron, and then just trim it to the same typical length as that piece, and that'll be taped into place. Just gives it a nice finished look. And then that is placed behind here and finished off with some stickers. Let me show you the finished layout that we've got here. Very, very sweet. Of course, if you want to add more pictures to these areas, you absolutely can. That little smattering of stars really finishes things off nicely. For layout 5, we repeat again with another gray, dark gray plain. And this time we'll put our gorgeous fireworks print here at the top. And we'll run this border here, kind of anchoring, and then also separating the spaces with this blue polka dotted strip. I guess I did it on the red. They were switched on my original sample. Once again, the same thing here where you clip the corners with the help of your grid ruler. I mean, if you really want to, you can certainly take a scissors and eyeball that, which I will do. It's all right. I did the same thing with this one, made my parallelogram ribbon. And if you fold the way the ribbon wants to go, you won't be fighting the grain. Tape it to the back. And finish that by gluing a gem. Oh, it's just so, so sweet. Then we'll have 2 vertical photo mats here, so just make sure you have this piece up high enough. Now, here is something that you're going to be perplexed by. Do you see how this and this are the same height, or that they nest perfectly on 3 sides but not the 4th side? No worries, just hide that 4th side behind the photo mat and no one will ever know any better. I finished this layout too with a stretch of this gorgeous blue and white twine. It's the absolute most perfect color for what we've got going on here. And you've got a generous portion. So for this, I stretched it across, trimmed it, taped it on the back, and then went ahead and later attached my little bow right there. Okay, let's set that aside and we'll move on to layouts 3 and 4. Everything's out of my pocket for 3 and 4. I'm using the narrow strips on the right side of the layout, which the base is red. So I'll have one narrow strip at the top, right along the edge, believe it or not, and then one right at the bottom. And we'll differentiate this space and add a blue. These are 3/4 inch strips, and they're designed to nest with these text border strips here. And that's sweet. Now, this is like doing a puzzle here. We've got a large blue mat, and look how that fits right in that spot. And then on top of that, you'll put a 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 dark gray. And then a 4 by 6 photo will fit right into that spot. Then here, look, the height of these two pieces match. It is like we're finishing up a puzzle. And Jacqueline was so clever. She designed little openings onto the sparklers so that you can add your gems right there and really make it pop. Love it. Okay, then over here, the width of this is a perfect fit. And then across the top, we'll add a journaling prompt. We'll add a little piece of ribbon to our little banner, trim the end into that V shape, and we've got ourselves a gorgeous page. Along the left edge, we'll have the larger strip, and then we'll mimic what we did before. So this is directly on the edge. Then we have a separator, and then we have a decorative strip on top of it. So it really does a nice job of subdividing the space into two unequal portions. Here we've got this at the bottom. We've got this at the top here, and in between, ooh and ah, so cute. This will be on the left side. One more time, I'll use my ribbon. I'll just cut again at an angle. Try to fold it in half the way it wants to be folded. And then I just bend it in half, but at an uneven angle. Grab a mini stapler, if you happen to have one handy, otherwise a regular one will do. Kind of hold it there and staple that ribbon in place. Sweet. Finally, if you have these little circles, if you happen to have a circle punch, you can add them to the layout. As I attached mine with foam adhesive and was just careful not to have adhesive in the area where it was overlapping the photo mat. You'll want to keep that in mind. And then on this sheet of stars, there's a combination of symmetrical stars and asymmetrical. So I'm going to grab a medium-sized symmetrical star, and you'll see that it fits precisely into the middle of this cut apart. Flawless. Okay, and then that'll be attached. Here's the finished version. So after adhering these elements, I went back in and added a few additional smattering of asymmetrical stars as well. It just gives it a nice, I don't know, ooh-ah look. Okay. Next up is layout 2, and we're going to begin on the right edge with this bokeh border strip. It's maybe about a 1/2 inch from the edge. We can fine-tune that once we know the placement that's nice and even and evenly spaced here at the bottom left with our light gray. So that's what determines where this is positioned. Above that as well, you'll want to add this after, and I used a ruler to keep it nice and level. A pair of nested photo mats will be attached kind of along the left edge, but just with a little bit of space that matches the space here. And tweak it until the top of this matches the top of this piece. So now you have this open area here where you can then add this little banner and a nice little punch, and then wrap some of this blue and white twine between the square frame and then the text. On your finished page, I've also added some asymmetrical stars. And there's my little bow. Another star was added to that cut apart star here. So it's very, very sweet and yet extremely simple. Layout 1 finishes with a bang. Oh boy. Are you rolling your eyes at me right now? Probably. Luckily I can't see it. Okay, here's our journaling prompt. And I just chose to angle these just because of the laid back nature of the feel of this. Here's the... Actually had the title swapped. It's totally up to you. They're the same width. And then this gorgeous metallic satin All I did was just trimmed it down to about 14 inches. So I have an inch overlapping on each side. And again, just flip the ribbon to see which way it wants to bend. For those of you who've never learned this tip, do you see how the ribbon naturally wants to curl inward when it's like this? But if I switch it, do you see how the ends are kind of flipping out? So when you attach it to your layout and you want it to wrap around nicely, make sure you're layering it with the grain of the ribbon. The finished page also includes the addition of a few star dazzles here and a smattering in them here on the journaling box. Well, this could not be any simpler. I've got 38 total minutes of filming time to make all 8 layouts. All that's left to do is stick everything down and add some photos and journaling, and you've got your summer memories in your scrapbook. Good luck with the project. If you have questions, please let us know. We're here to help, especially if you're just starting out. Let us know how we can help you get these pages to the finish line.